Not yet.
That's fine.
Watch the meeting.
Here, I'll watch it.
How are you, Albert?
Hey,
How's it going?
you like that?
You know, we talk about.
You're all set. Let me see. Kate Wolf is in attendance. Kate Wolf.
We ready? Call meeting?
Oh, second.
Okay, let's see. Present, Aaron, Dean, Andy, yeah. Mark, right? Okay, got it. Everybody get a chance to look at the meeting minutes of last meeting? Changes, omissions?
I'd make a motion to accept the meeting minutes as read.
Second. Okay. So it brings us right into old business.
All those in favor?
What's that?
All those in favor?
Sorry.
That's okay. I'll keep you straight. Try to.
Puts us right into the old pier maintenance again. Anything new? Gene, I guess that would be where you lead off with.
Yes, two things.
Yep.
We're waiting for the structural engineering firm to come down.
Yep.
To give us an appraisal. And second of all, I came to find out that the maintenance account on the cranes had not been renewed. They haven't been maintained since May. So now, it was before my watch. So now I've renewed the contract for the cranes to be down. One of them has a blue book. They're coming down, I hope they soon fix that, and go through to the cranes and make sure they're up to stuff.
So we haven't had anybody looking at the bolts, those things, you talked about the hardware under there. But nobody's coming down to look at that yet.
Not yet, no, but they are, we all are on the. The contract, the maintenance was lower, $10 a year, which I thought was good.
Yeah.
And they come and they look at the cranes 4 times a year.
All the switches.
Yep.
Anything come with that or anything, or is it just a maintenance program?
Just to make it, I have about $6,000. I get a feeling they'll be spending some money.
Probably. That's.
But they're very important.
So I guess we just move that forward on the next.
Yep.
See where we come up with, find it out. Aaron's revisions. Yes,
Oh, the ordinance revision?
yeah,
Where'd we leave off? I didn't mark it last
I
time.
thought it was 5.
Do you remember where I left it off?
I thought we were all the way.
No,
You remember, I'm just.
my bookmark was in section 4, vessels making fast. Not sure if we got past them. Because I know I missed a meeting. It's Article 6, 5, sorry.
Article 5. Yes, I have Article 5.
More replacement construction, manning vessels we didn't talk about. Let's see where the vessels we talked about. Houseboats.
Yeah,
I thought we were pretty much through the end of it, and the one thing that we were gonna talk about, well, we were gonna look into Gene's violations. At the
Yeah,
very
I have-
last section.
I have written at the very end. Well, in section 6, I have hire fee, which we covered the fee. And then I have notes in section 8 and 9. It says peer training and operating guidelines. And section 4, put a section in for violations under Article 9, section 4 for violations. And I believe we stopped at Article 10. We got to review Article 10.
Mhm.
I think that's what we did. That's
right.
how my notes are flowing. Usually I write the date and I didn't do it last time. And as far as the mooring requirements and the fee structures, we were very successful in March. And I would email right now, but my computer is gonna die. It wasn't docked in right in my car. And I will send everybody here. I would just ask that if I send it to you, don't share it. Because it's not proprietary, but it was generated through the Harbor Master Association. I don't want the document zipping around everywhere else. Like, if we gotta share it internally, that's fine. But it's a document that covers what the requirements are for mooring renewal, what the fee structures are, the fee structures for piers. And I think there's some other mooring requirements, but I'll send that to the group and just put in there, hey, we can use this as a document, just don't share it right yet.
Work in progress.
Yeah. So yeah, I think we're at Article 10 is where we're at, which is us. I think is where we're at.
Establishment, the duties.
Yeah, and we were gonna talk about establishing section 4 for violations of Article 9.
Yep.
So I wrote here, establish section 4 violations and what those violations look like. So Gene has something to enforce when it comes to the pier, like, more importantly, section 3, subsection B and 3, where these guys just put all this stuff on the pier and it just completely makes a mess. So we should probably address section 4 with violations. And as far as the committee is concerned, I've read through it. There's not really a lot of,
Well, and wouldn't that also the procedures and the duties, would that also go back to the moorings as well? Because not being properly.
yeah, but I think that the piers, they haven't broken down specifically in the pier. And the moorings, we already talked about, like, subletting of the mooring, creation, maintenance of the mooring, vessels making fast, obstructing the channel. I also think that there's the ability in here to put, like, we put section 4 violations, and it can be as easy as, a violation of Article 9 as outlined above in the regulated use of the pier shall be a violation of the ordinance and shall be, a fine of not less than $500. He writes it under violation. It's that easy to put that wording in there. And then after we do Article 10, we review it, I would be intrigued to Article 10, Article 10, oh yeah. I'm sorry, Article 10, 11, 12, 13. I'm wondering if maybe that covers at 10. I was looking, there was an ordinance, there's ordinance wording in somebody's ordinance that there's a catch-all phrase in there that basically it has something to do with unsafe practice and or imprudent seamanship. And to put it in there for you so that if something is really, really screwed up and it doesn't cover the ordinance, it's a catch-all. But we can go to council for that.
Is that an enforcement clause?
It would be either an enforcement clause or it would be just an article that gives a very wide scope of authority to not just the harbor master, just law enforcement in general in the area. Because if Gene was on vacation and there was some issue, we could turn around and tell the local cop to come down and enforce it too. That's what I got.
Because it says, or any law enforcement officer.
Yeah, and we can add we can even add a sentence in the enforcement, it says the ordinance may be enforced by the harbor master, assistant harbor master, or any other law enforcement officer, authority to carry a weapon and make arrests. violations shall be prosecuted under Title 38, blah, blah, blah.
So I will mention here that several people, you know, kind of were asking what's the origin of law enforcement authority, you know, requiring that of the harbor master. And I know this was established probably long ago under Dave Corvo's leadership or whatever, but people referenced other towns where the harbor master is not part of law enforcement,
Yep.
or that requirement is not.
The reason it was put in Skyro's ordinance to make it harbor master law enforcement is the way, some towns are administrative, some towns are or summons authority based on the local ordinance, other towns are based on full law enforcement authority to make arrests and issue summonses. And when you give them authority to only exercise over the ordinance, they usually only get summons authority because it's a civil violation. So the town of Scarborough, years ago, after Dick Hingle retired, when Dave took over, they made it a law enforcement job because it was a mixed job between shellfish and harbor master.
Yeah.
And when they did that, they made it under the police department in the ability to ensure that if you can't enforce the ordinance or the shellfish ordinance, you have to relate back to state law, and somebody obviously is not going to listen or conform, you have the ability to make that arrest.
Yeah.
Is why. It's always been like that. And there's more towns. In 2011, when I started with the association, the Harbor Master Association, running that, there was probably 10-12% of law enforcement, and now it's like 37%. Are actually
37% of harbor
in the
masters are
state.
in law
Yeah,
enforcement.
it's almost 40% now.
That's a good statistic.
Yeah.
So the reason I'm bringing it up
a few
is not,
places,
you know,
all
there's
one town.
no agenda here. It's just that people have been asking, you know, especially over time when we've had difficulties staffing the job, and it's been open for a while, and we've had part-time people and so forth, that, you know, was always a question. It seems as if one would think that there would be a high level of interest in the job. And then usually the response to that is, well, that's true, but fulfilling the law enforcement aspect of that has been a barrier. You know, they felt that that cuts down on the number of people that might be interested as applicants. So it's just something for us to
Yeah.
think about going forward. I don't know that that's ever been proven, but, you know, I think the fellow before Angelo, you know, Ian was also a law
Mhm.
enforcement.
Yeah.
You know, I also had pretty extensive marine background.
Yeah, you did.
So anyway, I just thought I'd ask the question. That's very
Yeah.
helpful.
I don't think looking at it from a state perspective, I don't think you'd ever want to go backwards. You would never want to go to a non-law enforcement harbor master. It creates a lot. I field phone calls weekly from across the state, and people are like, what do I do with this? I can't do anything. My response is, well, if you were sworn a law enforcement officer and they're not going to conform to the ordinance, you can revert back to a state law and make an arrest for it.
So I understand that part of it. The only thing I'd say is there's another part that has to do with, so for folks that have, and I'm not trying to single anybody out here, but for folks that don't have harbor master experience, don't have the, you know, the marine aspects of that. So I understand that, you know, Randy and Gene have both had to go through and obtain that certification. It seems like that makes sense that that'd be easier for them to obtain than it would be for somebody without law enforcement background that then obtain, you know, that. Sort of thing.
If they didn't have a law enforcement background, because I actually build the curriculum, because the way it works is the Criminal Justice Academy allows the board of directors for the association to basically set the criteria.
Yeah.
So I personally set the criteria every year.
Right.
For what they're certified in.
Yeah.
And if you're not a certified police officer in either a reserve status or a full-time status, and you come to the certification class for harbor masters, you will struggle with the basic law, the law enforcement authority, the harbor master authority, and then the summons writing and the due process. You will
Yeah.
struggle with it. And that's why you've seen more towns migrate towards that law enforcement harbor master. In 12 years, like I said, we've gone from probably 10, 12, 13% to like almost 40%. So
So it's almost double, right, or over double.
it's
right?
over double.
In how many years did you say?
In 2011, so it's been 12 years, 11 years.
Okay, that's helpful to know.
Well, I think they have, like in Kennybunk, the harbor master is only responsible for the mooring in the channel.
Yeah.
And then you have Kennybunk side of the river takes care of the Kennybunk. The Kennybunk Port side of the river has to take care of Kennybunk Port.
That's a very convoluted issue now.
Right, and so Biddeford Saco, right at the Saco.
But if it's
River.
Saco is the same way, I mean, I patrol that as a Marine Patrol officer, as a bit of a cop, as a Saco cop. And it's, if you don't have the right law enforcement authority to do your job there, you may as well just not even put it on there. It's not even feasible.
So you mentioned Biddeford Saco, I mean, that's a good example. So was Kennybunk, what'd you say?
Kennybunk and Kennybunk Port, they have 2 harbor masters that work, and both of those harbor masters, again, Kennybunk and Kennybunk Port are non-law enforcement harbor masters, and they have nothing but enforcement problems. And when I used to be the supervisor from Portland to Kittery on Marine Patrol, my phone would ring from pretty much May 15th until September 1st to come down here and, oh, we have a vote with no life jacket, oh, we have a vote with this, oh, we have a vote with that, and oh, we have no UI, and they can't handle that.
That makes sense.
So it's really not something, and that's why in the Saco River in 1998, when I started in Biddeford, that's what I was hired to do. I ran the river in the summertime and I worked night shift on that in the off season. And that was my job. Because there was 2 civilian harbor masters that had no enforcement authority. And it was like the Wild West down there. And that got corrected within about the first 3 years when we just started handing tickets out like candy.
That's right, that's helpful.
Yeah, so section 4 is where we would be at on number 9, article 9.
Yeah.
And I don't know how we want to word that. That's probably we should put a notation like the town. You should have the town attorney look at that. Section 4 and write a violation of this article has a penalty of X.
Some of our ordinances, one, if you have a first offense is so much, second is so much, and it keeps going up until.
Well, I think the peer use, it should be, first offense is so much, second offense is so much. And then on the third offense, you should suspension of your peer use permit, and on the 4th and final offense, you lose it forever. That's what I would do.
Yeah, for cheap.
Yeah, because there's gonna be a handful of people that violate it easily on the first, second offense. I think the third offense, they leave a trap once, hey, that's your first offense. Leave a trap, yeah, hey, there's your second offense. The third time they leave the trap, that's their time, you're gonna lose your peer use for a month. I mean, I think that, you go down there on any given day from pretty much now until November, there's just stuff all over the dock. They use that dock like their own, and you can get, the wreck boats can't come in now because they've got so many traps on there, and I just think that if you're gonna put traps on there, that's fine, and say, well, I'm waiting for high tide, then move them to the next tide. Because what they do is they don't want to carry them up the ramp. I don't disagree with them, but when high tide is at 10:30 that night and the tide and the ramp straight across, move your traps. Or 10 o'clock next morning, move your traps. Like, they shouldn't be there more than 24 hours.
Well, they back down right to the shoulder.
Oh, yeah, I agree. But some of them, they pull into the dock and they throw them on the dock, and then next thing you know, we've got, 800 traps on the friggin' float.
I mean, if we're gonna put something as powerful as a lifetime ban on getting a permit, should there be an appeals option in there? I know that Article 12 says it has to be specific to a violation. So do we need to put some kind of escape hatch there for,
In the violation section.
Yeah.
So like first offense, second offense, third offense, fourth offense, and then an appeal.
Yeah, if just giving them an opportunity to appeal a lifetime ban or something. Because I mean, it's his livelihood and they should pay attention to that when they were leaving their junk up here, but, just to give them some kind of option. So,
Yeah, because nothing says that upon loss of their permit, they can appeal it. They might, They might go back, they might not. But let them go and make their case to the town manager.
That's what happens when you lose where your license is suspended for the shellfish. You have a right to appeal to the committee. And then if they don't like the committee's decision, then they have the right to appeal to the town council. So it's like a two-step process.
Oh, yeah, that's part of the,
Shellfish.
Shelby, but does that go to the appeals, the employee appeals committee?
No, it goes right to the committee. And then from the committee, if they don't like it, if they're going to uphold their decision, then they have the right to go to the council. It's the next
Okay.
step. Yeah,
And it would go directly to the council,
Mhm.
not to, so
the
what,
appeals board,
what
yeah.
group, does the employee appeals board cover? It
The
doesn't,
appeals is for
it's town employees, right?
the fair, you're talking about the Fair Housing Appeals Board? It's,
No, the one that I'm on that never meets.
yeah, it's to do with dental assistance.
Sounds like that's a very effective one.
You gotta look hard.
Can I get on that one too?
Oh, the personal appeals board, that's strictly just employees, yeah, employee appeals, yeah.
Thanks. Not that I'm looking to convene it anytime soon.
It's a good thing you're not moving.
But I think that's a little bit what.
Yeah.
And you could put it in there, first offense, second offense, third for suspension, fourth loss of permit. And then if they want their permit back, they can appeal to the Coastal Waters Committee. And if they don't like that, I mean, I would keep it in line with the shellfish personally. They can appeal here and then turn around and appeal to the town council. And we'll make Mike go to the town council meeting since he's the president. He can tell the town council what the facts are. I'll just investigate it. I'll hand him the facts. So
It's fairly easy to investigate.
hey, your traps, they're here, they're your tags, right? Take a picture, document the time. I saw it, and then 20 days later, at the same time.
Is all of the pier covered by camera, by CCTV? I know there's one on the end, by the fire hill. Is there? Yeah, I have put in for capital improvement, to redo the cameras. Gotcha. I'll put it for capital improvement and a grant. To get all.
That triggers my brain on what we're talking. When you apply for grant money through MDOT or FEMA, some of the caveats to are, do you have a law enforcement harbor master or law enforcement person on the, in that general area? Sometimes there's scoring points to that too.
Yeah, I'm sure there's a lot of funds set aside.
There's funds like the ship grant that DOT runs. I think Matt Burns has a question in there. He's the grant manager. I know him really well. I think there's a question in there that says, does your town have an enforcement authority, i.e. a board or law enforcement overseeing your waterfront? Because what they don't want to do is pour $3 million into it and it become trash in 3 years. They want some regulatory body and enforcement. So that's why you've seen some towns migrate that way too. It's a voluntary thing too. All right, so beat the violation. The only thing left is the Coastal Waters Harbor Advisory Committee.
Right. Whether they're. We will self-explanatory, isn't it?
Yeah, I don't think we really need to change anything here.
It's actually, there's another appeal right there, there's a skate hatch too.
But I think that applies to the whole thing.
Yeah.
But it says specifically, this ordinance expressly provides a right of appeals. It is. But yeah,
Yeah, I'm good with 10. I don't. Unless if somebody sees something that stands out that we have to change.
Just a recommendation. they belong.
Yeah, right. Our duties are covered, we're doing exactly what we're supposed to do.
So when this, if this rewrites and we approve it, then it has to go to the town council, and then they.
It's gonna report it.
Goes to the ordinance,
Yeah.
Don's part of that, he's the chair of the ordinance, and then we can.
So ways
So
out.
just, we have to,
I've been working on it, but I need.
I'm gonna come in and sit with her sometime in the next week or two. And we're gonna call through it. And I think what we'll do is, I think what we should do is, Tony and I will call through it and then we'll bring it back here. And we'll make sure we want the shellfish behind us and we'll spend not just an hour, we'll spend 2-3 hours. We'll call the whole thing out. We'll go back and make the edits. And then make sure that it's all right, email to everybody, and then we're gonna move it to the ordinance committee. And I figured if we can move it to the ordinance committee by June or July, then we can get it passed in the fall and implement it next year, the whole. the new one.
So we meet every month, third Thursday of the month. And work with it. And then, the only thing I suggest, doing a red line, so if you bring whatever revisions you want to make, just bring the red line and be prepared to speak to the rationale for those. It should be fairly straightforward.
Yep.
Currently it's Jean Marie Caterina and I are on the committee, and then John Pucci is the third, is the third member. So,
Depending on this and the shellfish, you may have both of them back
Same
to
time.
back.
yeah,
Which
Not a
probably
bad
wouldn't
idea.
hurt.
it's actually not a bad idea, it may take some time, but they're related, and I think once you get people focused on the topic, they'll be better focused their attention, doing it in one fell swoop.
Yeah, and I figured that if we can have this done and finalized and through the procedure so that next year, when the next March or April, when the fee structures changes, the ordinance changes all at the same time. Like fees going up and the ordinance changes. Here it is, boom, done.
Yours so far, I think, are fairly straightforward. The shellfish ones, it depends upon what they're ready to go with, but there are one or two of the things they're talking about that are a little more complicated.
The residency and
The moose lot,
non-residency,
that
yeah,
one.
and the moose lottery is very,
It's complicated,
Well,
they-
they don't explain it right
Yeah.
though. I know it because I dealt with it, when we
Right.
dealt with it up and down the coast. But they look at it like the moose lottery, and they look at it as residency requirement to get a permit. Like you can be a resident, and then if you want to become a non-resident, but you hold a resident fee. But then when if you quit digging, that license goes back to a resident. Freeport does it, and I read their ordinance. It's very, very convoluted, and it's really going to take some work to work
And of
out.
those two, I'd say that the residency requirement one will be more controversial because it involves, taxes, people paying taxes. Right? So.
Yeah.
Because if you're a non-resident, you're not paying.
Right.
Town taxes, so there'll be questions about that. The other thing I'd say is that the moose lottery, I've listened to this for a couple of years now. I mean, I remember back when Travis was pushing this, Travis Turner. And it's hard to get people's head around exactly how that works. Okay, so, and they're thinking that, what does that mean? You have to be in the moose lottery in order to be in the lottery for for
Right.
licenses? No, it's just a system that
It's a
allows incentives to
Right.
build for people that are here already or that have been multiple entrants,
They're using it as a moose lottery, but what it is I call it a license incentive lottery.
Yeah.
And the license incentive is the more you apply every year, the more points you get. I wish we could do that with mooring done. You'd have like 2 moorings by now.
Just think it. That sounds like a great.
The main thing is we want to, present it in a way so people understand that, if it gets passed, that you're gonna have a license to dig clams, not to shoot a moose.
Right.
Right.
Like a threshold question.
Yeah.
But anyway, I think it's great that this stuff is coming forward as a couple, 2 or 3 big things.
Then we have the schedule of fees. Does that go back to the mooring fees? Does that back?
It goes
to
back to
the launch fees?
It goes back to everything.
Everything.
I brought the mooring list. I didn't know if we were gonna review that tonight or wait until we get close to, yes, or when we get close to having the ordinance be tabled. Because this is only gonna take maybe 3, maybe 2 meetings or at the council level.
For that.
Did you have?
See, you know, even just looking at this, like I have, well, I think what we should do, we should take this with us. Let me email, this is the rough one that I had from about 4 months ago. I now have one that is a lot more intensive. That basically tells you what a mooring resident, non-resident, a commercial, a non-commercial, seniors, you know, look at what it is to launch. And that will really cover all this stuff.
You see, the boat launch is not, I didn't put the boat launch on, but I will. I'll
Yeah,
email it out to everybody.
I will tell you that the boat launch, if you're paying anybody to sit there and take money and run the launch at $10 a pop. So that's a thing, cash flow. Has to be. At payroll versus launch fees. It just can't be. And
The
that's-
one thing that we get in our office is, why can't we get a credit? We paid 2 times, now we're here for a seasonal one, why can't we get a credit on the 2 times that we went? It doesn't work that way.
Well, it's.
Because right now we pay 75, if you're a non-resident of Scarborough, it's $75. If you're a resident, it's 25. And if you have more
It comes with
than,
a parking lot.
I know,
If you're a town employee, it's free.
It's dirt cheap.
I'm serious.
I mean, right?
Yeah, it is. It's very cheap.
Well, if you have the services, whether it's Gene or they're in that parking lot, and there's town employees, and there's restrooms, and
right,
there's things.
Well, I think the way you do it, is there's a lot of people that use that. There's a lot of people that use that daily. Like you sell them a permit for the season. Like
Right.
the guys that guide out there all the time. Like they're there 5 days a week. Like they use that ramp daily, 5, 6, 7 days a week. I would want them to pay them to pay, you know, $10 every time. Just give them a one-time $350 you launch here from year round.
It's cost of the business.
Right. Just on battery. Yeah, I do. I have a pretty substantial list to what this was too. Is this, did you do this one, Tony?
somebody emailed it and I put in, I just dumped it,
Okay.
I think you may have emailed it.
Yeah, I think I did.
Yeah.
But I have this one. I will send it out. It gives a little bit more meat and potatoes to it.
The one question that I would anticipate for fees is that people will want to know what do other towns do.
Mhm.
So, and again, I don't want to turn this into production, but to the extent that you have some data on that or.
I think that's-
I have it.
That would be helpful.
Yep, I have, that's what I have. I'll send this to you guys.
Well, we had a couple of tunables that came down and back point because it was cheap when going to soccer.
But they don't, nobody's paid those,
They what?
they haven't paid for the use of the pier,
Oh,
that's the thing. We've sent out, we had, I think, 4, and only 1 renewed last year, nobody has done it this year.
See, and that's another thing that we could, in Saco, we have written in the ordinance, if you use the pier for a commercial application like that, we'll sell you a one-time pier use fee for $75. If you don't have that $450, if you don't have the $450 permit, if you do not pay the fee of $75 and you use it, and we know who you are, we will send you a bill for $450. You can pay the full fee for one time.
That should be fine. Because that's the only way you're gonna
Basically
get
what it
money,
is, right,
right?
right.
There has to be
We'll summons them,
money.
we'll summons
Right.
them and then we'll collect the money.
There's nobody- It's easy to look at a bill.
Oh, no,
It's a different,
no, that's
summons
what I
is a
mean.
different conversation.
Right. So, I think we just hold the fee structure until I send that out. I'll send it to everybody. The fee structure won't take long. We can take it.
Well,
Once you look at the data, you're gonna see that, some of these towns are paying 125, 150. All the commercial ones are to 100, 450, 150,
that's just the pier.
non-commercial, yeah.
And then you get and there's also a mooring fee.
Right.
Mhm.
And usually a launch fee.
So I'll send that around and then we can keep it on the agenda for next meeting.
Okay.
And we'll deal with the fee structure. Now, we're done with the ordinance. We'll deal with the fee structure once you guys have a chance to look at some of this stuff.
Okay. Discussion of public access to waterways in Scarborough. We had brought the map. I don't know, does anybody? What do we got to go with that? I mean,
So I haven't seen that map. I know it was circulated. There was, one, that's the one. Is that-
Well, we were provided two of them.
So is that-
This is the one that's on the town's website.
This is one that, who's that put out by,
that's the Scarborough Marsh. That was,
Oh,
Yeah.
and I can get more of those.
Right, you said that, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I just haven't had.
I know that. I mean, I assume it's for public, not so much a clan leaders or whatever. I mean, they already know where they're going.
I think it's all about public access. From what we heard at the last few meetings. It's all about posted public access.
So you can't sneakily make it your own personal.
Yeah, I mean, there's like 6 of them, right? There's the one at Ferry Beach,
There's 18 of them.
Old Neck, no, these are landing, boat launches.
Oh, yeah.
Landings. So I just got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7,
High Point Beach,
8, counting Dunstan Landing.
Seabees Landing.
Same number.
There's a nature center, Seabees Landing, the co-op, the Pine Point Boat Launch, which is,
Well, one side you go on the beach, the other side you have to pay, right? And all that.
Yeah, there's no fee for the one that coming out.
Right, yeah, just get out on the beach.
Yeah.
right. There's two there. There's one by, there's the one, the public launch with the dock, and there's one by G. Then is the one by the Big Shed public?
No, yeah, it was deeded over like Avenue 7,
How
to the
where
Bay Shed
they
at
park?
84. There's no parking, never was. You can legally put a boat in at Freddie's house
So
down
what you-
there.
what you
but
tell
there's-
me is
there's driveways.
I can launch my 22-foot center console at the Bait Shed, just park my truck in the ramp.
I help people with kayaks and stuff over there. all
On a
the
Sunday,
time.
on a Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock, I'm gonna do that.
But it's river raft, you're gonna drive over.
At high tide, I'm gonna park the boat and order french fries, just to.
There's river raft there. You
I know.
drive on it.
The only one I'd say is that there's a question about Avenue 3 or Avenue 5, I think it is, where it goes,
The Avenue 5 right away,
yeah,
That's Freddie's driveway.
that's Freddie's driveway.
right.
That's
But
not
there's
a,
also a public way to the marsh.
It's true, and the clam bakers do use it too.
I don't think that you can put a boat out there though.
no, there's a
It's
seawall
just
there.
it's just a walkway.
It's
a
just a
right of
right of way
to
for
the-
walking.
That was part of when they did the discontinuance.
But it goes off, it goes to Jones Creek, it doesn't go the other way, it's not.
Correct.
Yeah, it goes to Jones
Yeah.
Street, right?
Right, there's also one at the end of Avenue 7.
Right.
That goes by Jeffrey's, in between his two houses there. I mean, the only one that ever drive out there was Mrs. Carson, Surebird, remember?
Yeah, she license plate, she would drive up there, right?
Yeah, she drove across the lawn right out, one of the binoculars out.
Is the Old Neck boat ramp public? I mean, I know I've launched a boat there up one, all the way up the Old Neck Road, way up in there. I used to launch a big haul label during duck season, the Forest Duck Hunter. Is that ramp public or is that part of that Old Necks Association?
I'm not sure.
I mean, you have a handful of ones like that that are not,
Hmm.
you know, that are mixed bag.
Like, we know Clay Pits is a public boat ramp. Even the Winnick's Neck, that's public, we know that's public
Well,
because,
again, you're still wearing park and everything.
right, there's no parking there.
Right.
It's public though. The Old Neck Landing, I'm not real sure, public, because,
Yeah, the only thing I'd say is that they don't, and this is their map, so maybe it's not. They're talking about where you launch a boat, number one, but also where you have access to the beach. So for example, Avenue 2 is, there's a path to the beach that's marked, but it's not on the map. And then the other, so we mentioned where you could walk down, it's a right of way, but it's not marked. So-
same thing at like Oak Street, there's a right away there.
Exactly.
There's a Sea Rose Lane, there's a right away.
And then all along the Pillsbury stuff,
Pillsbury Shores, there's like 4 right of ways that run,
Right.
like you can see them run between people's land all the way across.
Right, so, again, that's probably, work for another day, but that's the other part of this that I think folks who are going to. Some folks are pretty wound up on this more than others, but,
well, the Pillsbury, sure, they go the other way, they get it, that other side that says no access, period.
Yeah, they just walk right through the thoroughfare.
Yeah, and I get the problem is that there are the bad apples out there.
Yeah.
You know, they're the ones that leave everything laying around on the dumpster, or the sides of the buildings, and they look at the trash, the town trash down there as a place to get rid of everything that they don't want to take somewhere, or that they can't put in the recycling bin or something.
I mean, national parks have this rule where you
Packing,
pack in, whatever you pack in, you take out, you don't leave anything there.
Right.
And in the last few years, they haven't even put the barrel at the beach. They used to use the UTV at the Pine Point. They would go out at 6 in the morning and he would collect all the trash. He'd go on at Oak Street and come all the way back to Buffalo Park, take all the trash, dump in the dump truck, bring it up. They used to do it every morning.
Every morning.
I thought it was every single morning, yeah.
Rain shot.
Right, he used to do it. But those barrels aren't out there and I don't know that they're gonna put them back out there.
Any new business that we have to bring
We're dredging.
up? Yeah,
We are gonna dredge.
that's right.
We got, Gene and I got an email from the town manager, got a confirmation 2 weeks ago. We are gonna dredge. We answered a bunch of questions to them. And we are meeting with Craig Martin from Army Corps of Engineers. Not next week, the week after. He's gonna set up either an in-person or a Zoom meeting. The dredge crew will be up here the first week of May to survey what they have.
Are those public meetings? Because I know there are folks that, if they are, would be interested in watching this Zoom or attending.
I don't think there'll be public meetings.
Okay,
It's gonna be basically like,
this is like a project.
this is a project meeting. We've already contacted at least 4 fishermen that we're gonna have to move their groins because they're bringing out 153-foot, 4-foot draft dredge boat that they've asked one to pier. So I called a few of the fishermen after I talked to Craig, and Gene and I talked, and right now it's like May, tentatively like May 10th, 12th, they're gonna dredge. But they're only gonna dredge from Ferry Rock to the mouth of the river. Timmy Bailey's not gonna put any moorings in at the yacht club until after they're done. The Coast Guard's gonna move the buoys. We're gonna move a few, it affects Calvin Bailey, Gary Violet, Timmy Foster, and Travis Turner. They've all been notified that they may have to move their moorings out a little bit, so that boat can get up on the dock. So yeah, we'll have more, we'll know more in a few weeks once Gene and I meet with them. But there was a lot of loaded questions in the email, so I held Gene at bay, I helped him. Because the email came through in 20, like literally like it was 24 hours later, Tom replied to both of us, he's like, is one of you gonna answer this? And I replied back and said, I'm already on it, because I had made 3 or 4 phone calls, and I was waiting to compile the information. So
Tom updated as part of the town manager's report for the town council meeting last week, updated everybody on the status of the dredging and the two phases and that sort of thing. So, but there are a group of people that are interested in following it and learning about where the spoils will go. And there's a handful of folks, particularly Pillsbury Shores owners who, who are experiencing erosion and want to see if they can get some of the spoils. So they're trying to.
everything from this emergency dredge
Yeah.
is gonna go on to the Little River.
Yeah.
or outside the Little River.
Yep.
And I will tell you that if we take everything from the bottom of the river and we put it on Pillsbury Shores,
Yeah.
we may as well just keep dredging it, because every tide cycle, we'll just keep
Yeah.
moving it back.
Yeah.
The actual FNP, Federal Navigation Project, is due in the fall of 2023.
Yeah.
That's the one that's actually gonna come up past the pier, it'll go all the way up to where the Nonsuch River oysters are and such, all the way across. And Tom did have some, he and I actually talked about it. I saw him on Friday night or Saturday night, or wherever I saw him, and to move, there's a very large area between the boat ramp in the mooring field and like down towards
Yeah.
Pillsbury Shores. It's like 1 million square yards at the tune of $15 a square yard. It's impossible. So we gave him a number, what did I give you, like 150 to 300,000, something like that, to try to put in the CIP budget, because right now at low tide, if you go to the bottom of the boat ramp, if you're standing on the boat ramp and you're looking down the dock, the right side, at the very bottom of that ramp, low tide, there's only about this much water. So what I want them to do is I want them to dredge from the boat ramp and the pier
Yeah.
down as far as we can go,
Hollow that out.
hollow it out, and then hopefully that's gonna give him a little bit of room to put, even if he can put 5 moorings in there to release some pressure off the waiting list. And once we do it on the other side of Gary Violet's boat, we open up the Federal Navigation Project, we'll be able to push a few moorings out that way, so. I kind of looked at it, I'm guessing maybe at the very, very most, we're talking 10, 12 more moorings, once it's all.
Yep.
But that may only last for 2 or 3 years, we may have to pick those moorings up.
I'm just flagging this because you know how it is, it's all about managing expectations and, so we're just trying to, there's a handful of people, particularly in Pillsbury and some other areas that, seem to recall that some of the spoils in the past were put on their property. So I said, hey, this is where we are, and this is only a small part of the two steps in the process, and they're checking it out, but it's very likely it may not be
Yeah,
feasible.
I don't think that, under the emergency dredge order, I don't think they're gonna pull that much square footage out, square yardage.
Yeah.
And I think they're gonna basically make that channel 35 or 40 feet wide and take a swath and then resettle the its navigation and call it good. And I told them that we needed a minimum of 10-foot depth at low tide. So at high tide, you're gonna talk, it's gonna be 36 feet probably deep, but at low tide, it'll be a 10-foot swath. 10 foot deep, probably 50 feet wide, 60 feet wide.
It's great news. I mean, it's really good
Yeah.
news that it's happening in the first place. I mean, that it's a big question mark, so that's really positive. I know a lot of other people.
They're not gonna get in and out.
They can't even get in the low tide now. They have to wait 2 hours either side of low tide to take it in. Unless they want to drag bottom. I mean, you're talking like 2.5 feet of water spots.
So we'll move the dredging on to the next meeting.
Yep.
We'll have pier maintenance update on the next meeting. We'll get a revised paperwork done
I'm gonna send this out. Yeah, I'll send this to you guys as soon as I get it.
and revision on the 1401.
Yeah, and the fees.
The fees.
Hold on, let me just check. Oh, we do have someone online, let me just.
Hi, I have a question. There's a number of neighbors would like to have a kayak boat ramp put in at the Clay Pits boat ramp, a kayak canoe. We have no idea who to talk to about this, but there's quite a few neighbors, including me, that are getting older, and it's harder for us to load these on our cars. So we'd use the river a lot more if we could store our kayaks and canoes down there.
Oh,
A rack.
a rack.
A rack.
Okay,
Oh, okay.
that would be
Community services.
community services.
Okay, do you have somebody that I can, a name or something?
Yes, I would contact Todd Sousa.
SOUSA?
So you.
SOUZA.
ZA.
No relation to John Philip.
If you go to our website, on the very bottom, it says contact us.
Okay,
That comes to me, I'm the town clerk, and I can forward your request to Todd.
okay, thank you. Have a good night.
You too.
So that, a public one that's in the 96 King Street too, is that, so like it belongs to the parking lot, is that? a-
Yeah, that you have to rent the spaces
Yeah,
there.
he has a list,
Yeah, okay.
but I did, Susan, the people with that, they do approach me about it. So it's-
Yeah. But that's the easy walk, you know, there's no rocks, there's no.
Yeah,
That's the place to really do it.
There's a lot more kayaks down there.
This, I have this from the last meeting, Tony.
Okay.
This has the actual boat launch fee on here.
Okay.
That's important because non-residents are $75 for the season. That's a good deal.
Bargain, that's what I was kind of getting at.
In a resident season, a boat launch fee is $25. All right. I'll take
And
two.
the guy in the parking lot's earning one.
Well, if he's taking the fees in, plus his pay, he's probably doing pretty good.
The guy that's probably also cleans the bathrooms, just like that.
Right, yeah.
It's still, not every-
Still
and I think we're gonna have to pay the people for it.
guarantee it.
Up to you.
Well, if my payroll had to go up 30-some% in 3 years, so did yours. Guaranteed. All right.
Just need a motion to adjourn.
Motion to adjourn?
Secretary.
All those in favor?